And we are passionate about helping you doing business with impact. Wow, big words. I know these words get some inflation for me. I've heard them so many times and so often, because what does godly mean overall anyway? And is it even possible? And isn't business just business and just leave the God stuff out of it, because it just makes stuff muddy and more difficult? And maybe we all have had the Christian brother and sister say, hey, because we're brothers, come on, you know, and we just, let's not do this, come on anymore. Let's just keep it apart. And we think, no, we don't have to keep it apart, but we can maybe do it well. And we also believe, sorry, Ryan, but I know he is championing that, you don't have to go to church to be spiritual and have an impact. You don't. And especially when you're doing a business, you often don't have much time to do many extra church activities, if you're Christian, to do that. And this whole thing, doing business because you're so busy already, and my passion is to say your biggest ministry is every day in your business. There's the impact. There's where you live with people you spend your most time. And it's not a new concept. So we are not proposing, oh, this is on you, and no, it's nothing new under the sun, says someone wise in the wisdom literature. Nothing new under the sun. But it's maybe rediscovering a passion for that, an excitement for that. Just 3 examples of the big ones, and then comes the normal guys like us here. Cadbury, we all probably know Cadbury. It was founded by Quakers, strongly believing community. In the 1900s, the business was going well, and they combined profit, quality. They started housing for their staff at a time where it was not normal to do that. They started provident funds, scholarships, and it was not the church doing it. That was the company. That was Cadbury as a business, and they thrived and they survived and they did well. And they did this with God. So there was like, hey, we can learn from these guys. We're not the ones who are inventing things, but it's just like realizing it's always been around. And Chick-fil-A, whoever has been to the States, Chick-fil-A, a hugely successful, it's like McDonald's or Burger King in the States, fast food restaurant. And they running their business also on biblical principles, whatever that means. For example, they do the crazy thing. They, on purpose, every Sunday is closed. They do not business on Sunday as a fast food restaurant company. That is ridiculous. I mean, everyone would say you cannot do that. I'm not saying you have to do this, but they felt we should do this because that's our conviction. They're amazingly successful. And last one, I also brought the book. I have it here. If you want to borrow that, that's cool. There is like Cheryl Batchelder, however you pronounce it, also from the States, also fast food restaurant, Popeye Louisiana. I didn't know that restaurant chain. And she decided, CEO, and she decided to radically change the approach and to really, she wrote a book, Dare to Serve. I don't even know whether it's, she's Christian. I don't know whether it's not a Christian book per se, but she just said, using the principle of who do you serve, how can you serve well, not what you get out of it for yourself, but how can you serve someone else. So also there are success stories, and I'm just not saying we also need to be there. I'm not the guy we all need to be super successful. I don't believe in that, but it is possible. And it's not like just how the Christians do their things. That's why I'm quoting that, because there is stuff out there. So we don't, as business people, we don't really need extra outreach programs. If I talk to those who a bit more churchy words I use today, because we have suppliers, we have customers, we have staff, we have enough people around us. We don't need extra outreach on a Saturday or Sunday. We are on outreach every day. And if we do that well, I think, wow, then we're doing well. And it's not easy. We're not living in a cloud. We know business. You know, you have staff, you have customers. It's not, and their stuff has to be done. But how can we do that? Before, and I know I'm too passionate, but I want to give you, that takes 2 minutes, 3 or 4. What is impact? Just want the impact. What I found very helpful, just to leave that with you, to think about how can we measure impact a little bit. What is that? Because the word impact is used, there's impact investment, there's impact for everything. I found this was been introduced to that model. There's the 4 P's, easy to remember. 4 P's, impact, P for profit. we can have with our business obvious financial impact. We can make money, we should make money, we need to make money as a business, but we can also give away money. We can bless, we can do good with that money. That is very well known. Business people are thought to be the rich guys. And when you become a business person, you realize they got something wrong. They have maybe lots of capital somewhere sitting around in assets that does not make me rich, right, Shane? Just because I have 2 cars, they have to be paid, man. It's not. Or then you have maybe 3 Quantums, and people think, now he made it. And it's like, well, no. I mean, maybe yes, but you're not the rich guy, what people assume. But profit is one. P for people. I think impact can be measured how we deal with people, the social aspect of it, how we creating, I mean, we impact families. People, if we employ people, for every person we employ, there's a whole family, and sometimes an extended family that benefits from that job. We know that, but I just want to remind us that's impact we have. You say, I work with my people. You are probably intentional about caring about this person, and not just clock in, clock out, do your stuff, I'm done, whatever, transactional. We can create jobs, and by now I also came to South Africa to create jobs, and now I'm saying I want to create good jobs, because just jobs, there's not enough jobs out there I would never ever want to work in, and I don't want to create those jobs. P for planet. That's in South Africa. Well, I find this a tricky one. In the Western Europe, it's huge. That's the biggest thing at the moment, is having environmental impact, because we are stewards of the earth. If you try to survive, this one is a tricky one, because hey, I rather help the people than the planet. But maybe we don't have to do either or. Maybe we can do both, and just being aware that there's a planet out there gives us impact. And sometimes it doesn't have to cost more even, actually. And the last is purpose. P for purpose, or the spiritual impact, and it's a bit of a vague thing, but like being in your business, some people, so we do once a week, we have together a team meeting, and then one of our staff prays, or we've had a prayer meeting for people who wanted to come just in the morning. There's many, many different ways. I don't want to go in there. I just want to profit, people, planet, purpose, a bit of a matrix to look at how we can have impact in our business. And with that, I want to hear the real people who make impact. And I don't want to put the bar high. It's normal people. And we asked a few people, can you share how you do that? How do you do business with God, for God? Did you experience something? So I haven't listened to them. So let's see what, I hope it goes in that way. I'm going to start with the one I know pretty well. Shane, you are willing to do this. Thank you very much. Sure. So no pressure. I think you get a microphone, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, you have one already. Oh, all good. Set up. I'm behind. Just share a little bit. You have heard. No more intros.
Perfect. Good morning, guys. So yeah, as you heard, I'm Shane. I own a local driving school in the area, and so I just want to take you a little bit back to where I started. And so at the age of, I think around 18, I went in a total different career. I studied fitting and turning in the engineering field. I didn't think of ever doing driving school. I used to drive since the age of like 16, stayed in the same road as Denzel, and while studying I needed I needed some extra cash, and Denzel actually had a driving school in my road, and I passed my license first time with his driving school, and then he messaged me, he said he wants to speak to me the evening, and I was like, okay, probably about the finances I still owe him. So I didn't pitch, but then he called me again the next day, and he said he wants to speak to me regarding I'm looking for another driving instructor. I was like, okay, I'm 18, I just passed my license, I don't think I'm going to be able to teach people, but he saw something in me, I guess. And he trained me up to actually teach people. I think for that week or two I sat in the back of the car just seeing how he teaches people, and I find it fascinating, like, oh, okay, this is quite cool. And yeah, I started working after 1 week of teaching and having the paper license still. I started teaching people. So yeah, I didn't expect to do that. And then at the time I was still studying, and then I did my qualification, I qualified. I then left the whole driving school thing when I got an apprenticeship, and I worked in a cool company where we built conveyors for Coca-Cola and Apple tires, and God just gave me this job I didn't apply for. But and even there I could start, that was in that time that I started building this relationship with God. And I saw God's blessing over my life in that time, and even in that workshop where I then qualified. I then obviously got a better increase on my salary and all of that. But as time went on and continuing to work in the engineering field, I found that I am struggling to, first of all, sometimes share about God because people treat you differently, and I struggled to get the salary I would want. So then I was in a place where I wasn't that happy in my job. So I decided, okay, maybe let's try and start a business. And it took me back to, okay, you know how to teach people. You have a car now. When I leave this job, I'm going to start a driving school. And I was in the church and I shared with a couple of people that I'm starting a driving school. And they said, okay, cool. I then advertised on Facebook and I got like over 70 shares on my page that I put on Facebook. And the first week of starting my business, I had business. Wow. And I feel that God has really opened that door where I could now start something that's that I could be more passionate about, even though I was passionate about still the fitting and turning in the engineering field. I then had a different approach because now I was like, oh wow, the driving school actually sits me down with people that's not following God and they're stuck in the car with me. But not that I'm going to go there and preach to them. I'm not going to go there, no, you must follow God, repent. No. It's just the principles of following God that you can implement in your business. Where now that I've been obviously doing this driving school, I'm now with a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds that would never put their foot in a church. And so I found that if you just apply the principles of being kind, of being patient, of being, the biblical principles of just trying to make that person feel welcome. And also, like, my driving school is very diverse. I don't just have one specific color of people coming to my driving school. There's black, white, colored, Indian, and everyone feels welcome here because I don't make them feel out. And so I've now, in this time of having this driving school, I've had people that, Shane, can you pray for me? And they didn't follow God before this. Or I'm struggling at home. I needed to share what's happening. And thank you for having that space where I can feel vulnerable enough to share about my life. Because, I mean, after 10 hours of sitting with me, you're gonna want to know more about me. And I'm going to tell you, well, I follow God. And you're going to want to know about, well, you just opened that door, now I'm going to share. So as time went on, I noticed that I can actually share about God in a way that makes the person feel okay. Like, I can say, hey, I go to a church and the pastor's not going to judge you. You're not going to feel out. You're not going to, you can be yourself, and you don't have to now perfect your life to follow God. And I can share that in a decent way where people feel okay, like I'm okay in my situation, and yet I can give God a chance. And I've seen through the 5 years now of doing my driving school that because I've been including God in my business, that the business started growing more and more people is recommending my services because I am doing it without saying like, oh, I'm doing God, But even starting the business, I started it off on a word from God, from someone that prophesied to me and said, I see that you are struggling in your field of work, and God is saying to me that you're thinking of starting a business. And I said, wow, like in my head I was like, okay, I didn't meet this guy before and he's telling me this. And someone else said to me also the same thing, like you're thinking of starting a business, God says don't fear. And I started that on that word where I wanted to get into the business. And even while I was thinking of starting the business name, I was struggling to find a name because I wanted God to be included in my name. And I thought, impact. It goes beyond impacting the driving, but it goes into impacting the person. Because if I impact just the driving, it's just me teaching you how to drive. But if I use the impact as into impacting your life, because if you get your driving license, you can now go and get a better job. You can put it onto your CV. Doors opens for you because just having the license. But encouraging that person to feel that, wow, I can actually drive, I never thought I can do this, and making them feel so confident that they can now do this in their life, and also now they can take the kids wherever they want to, because now I have a child and I have to call an Uber and I have to do this, and now I can do it myself. I can buy myself a car, I can apply for the job I wanted because they said they want the license and I can't apply for this job. But also, like, I've seen people that came to my driving school that's now serving with me alongside me in my church, and I've told them, I go to this church, try it, you know, try this, and that's why I left it. I didn't go further preaching to them. Now they can follow the journey on their own, and I think that's important, where it doesn't matter in what business or what field you work, you can always include God. And even the guys that's been working for me, I don't make it to the point of saying, you must sign this 3-year contract and you're stuck with me. I encourage them eventually to, if they want to, you have a family, start it yourself. And even Johnny approached me a few months ago, and he said, I met this guy that I'm thinking of helping, but I want to get to know him a bit better. So if you are willing to, maybe you can have this guy work for you for a season, and then maybe we'll see after that. And I could have been like, oh no, this guy's not going to stay with me, why would I want to help him? But it's that principle of, like, you know what, I can, you know, that the saying of you know, give a man something to eat, you'll be able to eat for one day, but teach him to fish and you'll be able to eat for a lifetime. And I feel that that's the principle I can also add in my business, where I'm like, I'll teach you, I'll show you what I'm doing, and I'll show you why I can be successful in this way, and being able to still go and shake that person's hand tomorrow and say, like, ah, cool, I see your business is growing. And so yeah, that's me. I don't want to share it further on. There's a lot more to the story, but yeah.
Thank you very much. That's so exciting, because that's not more teaching and principles, but it's real life. Thank you, Shane. But I thought, when I thought about this, is there any practical question? We have a few people, it's just like, hey, how do you do this? I mean, so I would like, with you, I feel free just to do that. And if you don't know the answer, that's fine. It's, but is there anything, it's like, hey, how do you do that? Or why, or anything? Just a question, because he's here now. Anything to the story you would?
Can you teach taxi drivers to drive?
I would like to, but the problem is there's such a brokenness in the system of driving license, and it's so easy to actually buy it in South Africa, that so many of the, unfortunately, yes, the black community of Cape Town buys their license, and it's so easy. And so they go the back route and they get their licensing, and that's why you have drivers that's driving the way they are driving, and that's why the taxis don't always implement what they're supposed to implement, because they go the back route and think, because I have the car I can now drive. But it's much more than that. It's teaching actual safety, but I would like to, yeah.
Anyone else? No need to, I just want to give the space.
How do you market yourself?
The way I market,
Facebook,
yeah, mostly on Facebook, but I always take a picture after someone passes.
Okay.
So if I have someone pass, I never miss the spot to take a picture of you and put it in front of my driving school car and post it, because I know if you're gonna post, if you pass, you're gonna want to show your friends I've passed. And so much better that you're going to show I passed with Impact Driving Academy. And here's the picture that I'm going to send to you so that you can put it on your social media. So at least if I have one person passing first time, at least 5 of your friends is going to come to me.
And can you teach truck driving as well?
I could, but at the moment I am not at the point where I own a truck. So I would eventually like to get to that point. So I have 2 manual cars and automatic. So I teach manual and automatic code 8. But having to have a truck is going to be, I'm going to have some type of investment to buy a truck and get into that. But at the moment, my business is not at that point yet, but I would love to, yes.
So I think I love the question. I think now I'm going to stop it, because this is a networking afterwards we have to do. Because I love to promote the business, but like to stay with the story. But perfect. I mean, that's why let's connect, let's do something. Can I ask, I even forgot the name. So that's the tubes, the water slides, the fun part. Elise, sorry, I forgot your name. So there's no intro because I also get to know you now, so please just jump in and share with us.
Thank you. Make a long story short, we came down to Cape Town about 13 years ago. We're from Durban, where Pastor Ryan comes from. I know him very well. My late husband bought the slides because he had a big car accident and he couldn't do building anymore, so he was in a wheelchair. He bought the slides, and 4 years ago he passed away just before COVID. Then the slide was left between me and my son, my youngest son. It was 4 difficult years, because firstly, the year after he died, COVID hit us and we were closed. And we fought to be open, because some people saying we were on the beach thing, and some say we must close. So it was 2 years of COVID, very bad. So last year, COVID finished, then our main electrical cable packed up. And we were fighting because it was an outside cable, and we felt that the municipality had to replace it. But eventually, we had to pay for it. And it was nearly 20,000 rand for the cable to be installed, plus the electrician and all that. But in all this, I would just want to say, if it wasn't for God that was in my life, because in all these 4 years, He has put people in my life that has supported me, that prayed for me, my church prayed for me, my life group prayed for me, and He put electricians and He put miracle people in my life. Like last year, the electrician said to me, Elise, don't worry. You don't have to pay me now. As the year goes through and you make money, you can pay me off. The builder that was there to do the concrete and all did the same. So I want to say, you must pray to God, and God must be in your business, because if it's not for your business, if it's not for God, I don't think your business can run, because the prayers and He's carrying me through, has led me through to where I am today. Thank you.
So can you stay here, please? Can you stay here for a moment? And may I ask, and if you don't know the answer, that's fine, but
yeah.
Maybe because I'm more specific, so you say keep God in your business. What does this mean daily in a practical? I mean, you're running a business. How do you do that?
Well, I pray to God every day, and then I've got a lot of staff. I employ anybody, white, Indian, and we spread the gospel to them. We don't bang them with the Bible, but we talk to them. Me and my son, we question them and we ask their religion and all that. So and then also with people coming in with a friendliness, people say they're glad they can come here. So with you showing God out there, and just be your friendliness, and you can be an evangelist in your place. Because the staff, even though some of them are Muslims and all religions, if they've got a problem, they come to us. Even now that we close, they WhatsApp me sometimes and say, Ma, I'm sick. What can I do? Pray for me. And they're not Christians. So I believe wherever you go, you can put God's word out there and be evangelist. You don't have to go out in the streets. Where you are at the point, your neighbors, your house, even your family, you can be. By just sending WhatsApp, you can do that. So also another thing, I go to Simonstown police station every Thursday morning to go and do prayers with a policeman there, because I worked there before I went on retirement. And it looks like there's a big impact there, and I thank God for that. One of the guys that is there is saying that he's coming to church tomorrow. So I'm quite excited, and
thank you very much.
But I feel you must walk with God every day, and that will be your strength.
Hold on. Any questions? If you're up for it, just giving the space if anybody wants to comment or ask.
How do you buy a slide?
Well, we're the only one in this area. The nearest slats from us, well, this slat was being built there 30 years ago, over 30, nearly 40 years ago. So,
So they were there already.
they were there already when we bought it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk about standalone thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's very standalone there.
Yeah, yeah. We bought it from a guy.
What do you do here in winter time?
We pray. We closed down, so you know the business must still try and make money and to keep you through winter time, and then we do the maintenance. You know, if we have to paint the slides, you have to do the buildings and upkeep, still put chlorine and that in the pools, and so over winter time we rest a bit and pray, and then the last 2 months, like now, we're going to start to do maintenance and get it cleaned up, and so the kids and the adults can enjoy themselves again.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Very encouraging. Next one is actually I'm going to share. We talked about it, and I just have something that really fits in a different aspect. So not inherited, it's the wrong way. So we are I'm part of a foundation, and we own this workshop now because many of you know Russell Simon. He ran the workshop, and he passed away quite suddenly half a year ago. And then I was the one left over with the project guy because we were investing with him, and I was left over there. And I suddenly had a workshop. I have no mechanical experience. I'm not a mechanical guy. I don't really care so much about cars. But I care about people. And then we kind of tried this out to say, hey, there's no boss in the workshop now. It's just a team now, which is still an experiment. And I'm excited at the moment. It seems to work. And I'm more at the back end. So I'm not in the workshop, but I'm at the back end supporting and kind of the personnel and staff and salary and kind of giving leadership support. So we came to the point we realized, okay, we didn't know and all of that. I came to the point where we realized in order to be fully compliant, because it was my thing, hey, I want to be compliant, we want to grow, we have to do that. We had to be registered for MIPCO. Which we weren't, okay, let's leave that behind. And I thought like, okay, let's do that. And then we have to pay the Provident Fund and all of that. And it's like, whoa, that's going to be much already. That's like for staff, less money, for us, less money. I mean, it's a good thing, but they only get it when in their retirement. Well, we all talked about this, ready for that. And then I find out after I met with a lady and she came and I realized, okay, now there is, oh yeah, by the way, then I send you the salary schedule. It's like, what do you mean? Yeah, I said, we are fine, we are over minimum wage. No, I'm not talking about minimum wage. The motor industry, and I'm new to this whole stuff. We in South Africa, for the motor industry, there's a different minimum wage. You have to, according to the skills, you have to apply. Otherwise, you're not compliant. And that was like, okay. So then I realized, okay, how do you do that? Another amount of money that is not where we were yet, because it's still a startup in some ways, and also it's in between the full-on where you go with your nice car and the Ocean View backyard. Let's just put it that way. That's just this in-between space, and I went home and I was like, okay, I don't know how we should pay that. I look at the turnover, I look at the salaries, and I look at the money, and then I realized I could tweak it. Because in South Africa, you can always tweak it. Not just in South Africa, but in many places. But here especially, and I realized, hold on. If I do it that way, then, and I was like, but this is the right thing. And then I felt like, I said, Johnny, okay, what do you tell people always? Now it's be real. You always talk to people about encouraging, doing that. Now, do you trust God? Do you trust if you really go ethical, that this is going to work out? And suddenly it became so real to me, and not so much a theoretical point, but like I look at the numbers and it doesn't necessarily match up, and I say, okay, I didn't sleep so well, and I said, okay, actually I actually called someone. I called an African guy. Nissi, he was there. I called and say, is this just my legalistic German thing to be compliant, or what would you as an African do? Because there's some black Africans, some have different approaches, and I also want to honor that, because hey, not everything is as white and as clear cut as I always want it to be. said, no, it's, if you have to make the own decision, I knew he would say that, but he was kind of encouraging me to do the right thing. And I said, okay, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to do the ethical. I talked to the team. I said, you know what? Because of my belief, I'm going to do that. You don't ever have to lie for me. If anybody ever comes and inspects, you say what it is. You don't have to tweak it. You don't have to something. And I just trust God that He brings in the money and that He brings the sales and not the money. And in the end, it's just turnover, so we can pay, because we're not fully booked. I did that, and we also, I think a week later or something, there was the Business Connect prayer meeting. I went there and I put this out as a prayer request, and we prayed for that. And I just realized when I looked back, that was a week ago, I looked back, not the last week, but the 2 weeks after I made this decision, were one of the best 2 weeks we've had in the last 3 months. And the business, the money came in, and the turnover came in. And I was like, and I was just telling the staff, hey guys, that's what happened. And I was just so excited, so just to like, and I know that doesn't always work exactly that way. But this time, and that moment, it worked that way. And I'm totally excited that I could share this with the staff, and I could be encouraged myself to say, no, let's do the ethical thing. And sometimes it costs something, I know. But in this way, it was almost so clear. I looked back, it was like really after I made the decision, the 2 weeks afterwards, suddenly we had lots of customers and good jobs, and the numbers went up. And yeah, that was for me in that particular specific moment doing business with God. Mark, it's your turn.
Well, second time round, I'm Mark from Peak. My story is slightly different. Have I unplugged it? No. My story is slightly different in the sense that I've realized recently that I'm actually not business owner material. I'm actually a dreamer, and so. Preparing for this talk, I remembered way back when I used to have immaculate grass. The edges used to be, the grass would fall, and there would be grass on the horizontal. And so I used to teach. I had a teaching job, and so get home early, which was fantastic. You had lots of time on your hands. I remember this so well. And so sheep shears and doing it by hand, and then you stand and you check to see that it's I tell you this, and not to make myself look weird, but I had a lot of time to dream in that space. And so life was cushiony, and then realized that we had a financial issue personally at home, and so things started to look really, really bad. And with all honesty, and I wonder how many businesses start like this, but we literally had the car repossessed. The house was about to go. And my wife and I had not had running water in our house for 8 months. So and I want to say when God said, you'll be starting a business, you can imagine me telling my wife, we laughed hard, very hard, that we would start a business, that ultimately all of my dreaming of having a learning environment for teenagers that actually allowed them to think outside the box, that we did not need to put them in a conventional cookie-cutter style school, and we would actually get more results out of our teenagers. And so, and then all of a sudden it started, just like that. And so I learned that this wasn't just a school thing, now I had to do business thing. And so I had to learn very quickly those things. And the best way to describe this experience was a wave, and several waves. So if you can picture standing on the shoreline, especially here, Cork Bay, St. James area, you know, when it's rough, you're standing there and then you see these guys bodyboarding. From a distance, it looks fantastic. So you hear of people owning a business and it's absolutely wonderful, and you think, yo, they're rolling in it and whatever else. So in the distance, it looks amazing, until you get told, no, you have an opportunity to get into the water. And as you get there, there's this feeling of anxiety, but the excitement is the thing that drives you. And so you get on and you paddle out and you ignore the cold water and the risks that you might take. Sharks and I have an agreement: I won't get in the water as long as they don't come on land. So the risk is huge at this stage, and so you start to do the surfing thing on the wave. And so basically I experienced three things. Number one is when I got to the wave, I didn't quite know what to do. So you fake it till you make it kind of story. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just watch a few other people and do the same thing. And I think that's what we did here. We looked at other schools and other models and try to build the business side around what we already knew how to do things. And then there comes this time where you think, oh, actually I got this, which is what I did. And so you sort of become arrogant to it. And suddenly there's some hard lessons that you learn as you're going through the washing machine. You know that when you get into a certain part of the wave, it takes you and it just turns you and spins you. Like we had to learn about cash flow. We learned the hard way. It's not cash flowing, it's you've got to have cash in the business. And so in that washing machine style kind of situation, I realized at that point that I can't do this on my own. And so that's where you start to look for people with wisdom. And so that's what we did. Between my wife and I, we thought, how do we grow this business? How do we take this to the next level? And so while we're in the washing machine trying to work inside the business, let's try and figure this out. And so I think at that stage, that's where Andre came along. And so Andre, being the businessman, kind of told me in my panic that, and the words ring clear on a regular basis, you need to crack a few eggs to make an omelette. Still don't quite understand what that means, but we go with it. So when he says, let's make omelette, yeah, okay, let's crack the eggs. But what I understood is as my business grew, I needed to put people who actually are better than me. And I love Richard Branson. He put it the best way. He does not know everything, but he's employed people with the degrees and the knowledge to move this business forward. But eventually he told reporters that he had a master's and a BCom and all of these things. Meantime, it was the people running around that had that knowledge that he used. And so I realized at that point, being in the whitewash, that actually you need people to support you. And so that's what we did. And in a way, never in my wildest dreams did I think that the business as it is now would turn into a monster. Because that's what happens when your business starts to grow. I had a chat with Shane just before that eventually your time becomes so limited because everybody wants a piece of you. And so you've got to make a decision at that point. So when you're in the washing machine and you're kind of churning around, trying to get business in and all of that, at some point you've got to stick your head out and kind of go, okay, where are we headed? And so hopefully at that stage you've got people supporting you around so that you can actually get out of the whitewash or the washing machine style and actually enjoy the crest at some point. Now I want to tell you I'm nowhere near the crest, because as I told you just recently, I discovered I'm not a business owner, I'm a dreamer. I enjoy vision, seeing where we can take this business. And so I have to adjust my mindset to allowing other people to run the business, and because they're good at it and I'm not, I'm terrible at it. But I can see what's going to happen in the future. I can tell you what's going to happen in the school realm. I can start ringing the bell and start telling people we need to start looking at this area, because this is where the biggest problem is going to come. And case in point is COVID happened, and so trying to understand what kind of teenager we're going to have post-COVID was a challenge. We've never been through this situation, and I can tell you what happened, and it's pretty much we're sitting in the midst of a generation that has no purpose and needs to be put back on track. And so the system needs to change around that, and the business model needs to change around that. And so I realized that ultimately I can't do all of that, and to be quite honest with you, I also realized I don't want to do it all. And so this business keeps growing, and you've got to tame the monster from time to time, like we've had to do. Everybody gets excited for you about your business, and you kind of having to pull it back and make sure that it's still going in the right direction. And so I look forward to getting onto the wave and enjoying the riding the crest, as it were. And looking back one day and looking at the hard work that I've put in, I think that's the excitement for me. And of course, the best thing for me is empowering people. And so watching people that have come up through the ranks, and you kind of realize that if Peak was not around, how many people would not have been affected and touched. And so just my last statement is, when this thing started, God said to me, Peak will become one of the lighthouses in the valley. And I was very annoyed at the time, because I thought, well, why can't we just be the lighthouse? But I realized that if we sit in a business focusing inwards, we don't know what's going on. And so ultimately what we need to do is, in our businesses, turn around and look outwards and be community focused, while we safeguard the core values of our business. And so I realized then why God said you will be one of the lighthouses, because ultimately the more businesses that come on that have light, the more light that shines, the more we work together, and the more that we change a community. And so ultimately that's why Peak is very community driven. We make sure that in some way that we have that link with the outside world, so that we don't lose touch. And so yeah, that's my testimony.
Thank you. So the fifth P is Peak here. Little advertisement. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So how do you go from 8 months without water to starting something like this? Well,
I still have not worked it out, other than one thing is, I think if you're in tune, and you know, for me, we were at the bottom of the barrel. There was no way to move. And so, number one, I suppose in desperation, there's this life raft that's coming past. You're an idiot not to grab it. And so that was the realization number one. I couldn't be picky. But secondly, you know, we make mistakes all the time. So, you know, even when this opportunity came, number one, it was the wrong set of people to kind of get into partnership with. But I believe that God kind of sorted that matter out. My previous partner who started the business with me was only interested in making sure his daughter was safe, and so did not care about anybody else. And so eventually that partnership split. But I realized, and I thank God for that, because that was the momentum to get the thing going. So if it never started, we would never have moved. And so a lot of stupid mistakes were made afterwards, I can tell you. The cash flowing story, we had to learn the hard way. And so we're still not flush, and it's just one of those things where listening and being in tune kind of directs your path. And the biggest thing is the support from others. I think that for us, because sometimes you can get so stuck in your world that you're only hearing your voice. But when you get told some hard truths, that's when the wheels hit the tarmac.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to me about the process, you as a visionary, where you step back, or you step back from this close thing. How do you analyze it? I mean, people have said you analyze it from a point of threats and risks. Do you do that, or do you say you see a vision for what's got to be done in terms of education? What are the needs of future children? How to, especially with entrepreneurship and things like that. But how do you, when you come out of the fray, where you're so close to things, what goes through your mind most of the time? Speak to me about that.
So the best way to explain that is, you get the dreamers that sort of start on a blank canvas that kind of create something from nothing. I can't say that I'm one of them. What I enjoy doing is, and it frustrates me, is on Facebook every now and again I get these pictures, and I think sometimes it's just put there to irritate me. Is in America and in Spain and in Portugal, what's happened is, and over time, you will suddenly see people putting derelict buildings on Facebook and that sort of thing. Check out, this thing is dilapidated and whatever. What really excites me is when things look terrible, taking that and reworking it. So in other words, what does it look like now, and what can I make it? Is generally my baseline. So when we look at the education and how to determine that, what situation are we sitting in now? What is the now? And the now is, in our current situation, is we have a lost generation where everybody has taken their hands off because they're too scared to do stuff. Because we have empowered teenagers and kids to such an extent that we've actually created this monster. And I say that because, and to a large extent, we have not deliberately done it. Unfortunately, the cost of living here in South Africa has gone up, so both parents have to work.
Almost you have to keep it true, because you're going into your passion area,
Yes,
which can
okay.
carry you away.
So ultimately, I take it from there and then build on. So, yes, I can keep going.
Sorry, because I see like...
You write the book?
I shall do that.
You notice it's always when we ask, and it's the danger, because you ask the passion area,
Yes.
and he can probably now stand here for an hour and really
could.
help us understand.
Absolutely do that.
My job is to keep it. Yes, me too in general.
Some people have to go out.
Yeah.
There was
I have
one.
a question for you. Cash flow is very important for every business.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that you're pointing that out again. What advice is there that you can give based on cash flow? How did you deal with that situation, or what are you doing to improve that situation?
The simplest answer, without Johnny burning a hole through my head, is give the bank to somebody else. The more control you have, the less easy it is to get into the bank. That's as simple as that. So in other words, make sure that you have a whole lot of safeguards. That's what we did. So from having access to the bank, and I can make my own decisions. So one of my stupid moves is I bought a bakkie out of the company account, and I thought I was entitled to do it, and not even thinking about the cash flow. So ultimately what we did was, and that's the support of other people. So deliberately had to do that so that I did not have access to the bank, that I actually need to go and ask people to use money. Now it's a little easier because we're in a shareholding situation. So somebody else runs the bank. I don't touch the bank. So I have to ask. I have to beg people to get money to use it, which has allowed those reserves to go up because then we're not willy-nilly getting into it. So I don't know if that helps. I can expand on it afterwards, but make sure that you have checks and balances and you're accountable to somebody for spending your money.
I almost like there's so many cool topics to pick them up and like have actually Saturday so we can just hear from each other what because I mean this is daily life stuff.
Yeah.
But I have to cut it off for the.
Yes,
But thank you, Mark,
okay,
so much.
Thank you.
That's really cool. I heard from almost all of us. I heard there is other people involved. So I think that's one part of why we're Business Connect and you're here. I mean, that's why you are here. Some of us are not here, of the others, but that is people. We being willing to allow people to help us and speak into our lives and get advice. And also when you look at that, when I listen to them, almost not much profit. That is kind of underrepresented today, but we all know business without profit doesn't work because it's not a business then. I want to move away from, so thank you again from those who just were willing to share their story. That was really cool. We're going to, from now on, every Saturday, not every Saturday, but when we do these meetings, we'll have a person share. So this was just a kickoff, basically, because we find it so inspiring and suddenly so real what this is with business and all of that. There will be, and I've collected, not collected, but because I organized it, I have a few people already on hold for the next Saturdays. I'm excited to hear their stories, so that's going to be cool for the future. But I want us to move, because now you listened mostly. I mean, a few were allowed to ask questions because it was nice to you. That was actually for that. Well done, Johnny. That was already it's past. That should have been there while Shane was speaking as well. Okay, well prepared. No, it doesn't. Why is it gone now? Can someone quickly start it again? Or maybe I can just go on the last slide. From current slide, yeah, perfect. So I would, we always have a kind of networking session where we can connect with each other at the end. And I would like to ask you, it's a few questions. And, well, let's put it that way. It's basically just chat with someone else. Find someone, chat with a person. Today, we're not going to do the after 3 minutes because it's a bit more